So in 1981, 6-year-old Adam Walsh got separated from his mother at a department store. He was kidnapped and brutally unalived. I am not telling that story today, though. It's a very gruesome story. It's really traumatic. If you want to look it up, you can. The Walsh family ultimately got platformed into this public space and ended up becoming advocates for missing children. The Walshes, along with other families that had unfortunately experienced child abduction, were advocates for the creation of the National Resource Center and Clearinghouse on Missing and Exploited Children. This was formed in 1984. In 1983, there was a made-for-TV movie about Adam's story called Adam, and it was like a very largely broadcast and widely watched movie. It aired to over 38 million people. At the end of the broadcast of this film, they would show photos of missing children. Okay, so photos of children that were currently missing would flash on the TV screen. There was a hotline set up specifically for this broadcast, and people, all they had to do was just call the hotline if you recognized one of the pictures, and immediately investigators would look into it. So during the original broadcast in 1983, there were 55 photos shown. 13 of those children were located. There was a woman watching that original broadcast in 1983, and she saw a photo of a little boy that she recognized. This little boy right here. His name was Brian McCain. She recognized this little boy as a little boy that she babysat, and she had babysat him recently. So she called the hotline, and come to find out, that was the little boy. Brian and his two sisters were kidnapped from Columbus, Ohio by their mother's boyfriend. Brian was about 4 years old when he was abducted, and he didn't even realize that he had been kidnapped. The kidnapper told all three children that their mother and grandmother were deceased and that they had to go with him. The kidnapper and the three kids moved around a lot, which made it hard for police to locate them. He changed their names and made them pretend to have new identities. And these kids experienced like unspeakable torture and horrors that, again, I won't get into, but every form of abuse that you can think of, these kids experienced it. And the locations that the kidnapper took them to were like very off-the-grid locations, and they were eventually found on the Kaw Indian Reservation in Kaw, Oklahoma. Because that babysitter just happened to be watching this TV movie and happened to recognize that little boy, and she actually called the number instead of just thinking about it, the little boy and his two sisters were reunited with their mom. Here's the interesting thing. Here's the spin. We actually know who this little boy is. He grew up to become somebody very famous. That little boy grew up to be Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony. This is his story. In 2002, he actually did an interview with John Walsh, the host of America's Most Wanted, and he talked about his experience, and he actually performed a song on that show called AMW, America's Most Wanted. In the lyrics of that song, he's expressing his gratitude to John Walsh, saying that he remembers and honors Adam. It's actually kind of interesting if you read the lyrics. But yeah, who knew?